Hey, Facebook family, Martin Lopez from The Curiosity Theory. The Curiosity Theory. I'm so excited. Today is day 22, which means for the last 22 days, today's the 22nd day, I've been doing a video every single night. So I'm involved in something called the GSD Challenge, the 31-day Facebook Live Challenge, and this is day 22. So I'm excited. What I'm doing is I'm going through my book, and we are starting on chapter 3 of my book. And chapter 3, I talk about using words. And I start with a story about using words, but I'm actually going to go to the end of the story, kind of the end of the point, and then come back to the story. And the reason why is because this afternoon I was at a friend's house, and this exact story happened this exact way. So let me tell you what the tagline is. One of the reasons that we struggle in the face of conflict, both with our own needs and feelings and with others, is we're stuck within the childhood limits of our own self-awareness. So what do I mean by that? One of the reasons that we struggle with, in the face of conflict, so why we struggle with conflict is because we're confined to these ways of acting that we learned when we were kids, like throwing tantrums, or those are kind of the strategies that we use. And we're still using those strategies as adults. I know I do that. I know as a 52-year-old adult that sometimes with my wife, I get upset and throw a tantrum and, be real stubborn. I see my kids doing it. And today I was at a friend's house, and we were at my friend's house, and we were in the kitchen, and his wife was dealing with their son, and the son was really upset. And we didn't know what it was. He was just so upset, and he was crying, and he was just really, really angry. And so she asked him. She said, "Are you hurt?" And he was like really upset. And this is literally the same exact story I have in my book. And then like, "Are you hurt?" And then "Is there something wrong? You have to go to the bathroom?" "Are you hungry?" And then the little baby just like lit up, like his eyes were like my eyes, like really wide. "Whoa, yeah, like hungry." And in the story we talk about use your words. Using your words is the start of emotional intelligence, because what happens is before we learn to speak is we hold our breath. Little kids. I remember I went to dinner one time with a friend of mine, and his daughter, she was so upset she just held her breath, and she was turning purple. It was so funny, and she was just like she was just upset, and she just refused to give in, and she just held her breath, and that's what we learn. That's how we learn to communicate until we have words. And when we have words, we can start to distinguish whether I'm upset, whether I'm sad, whether I'm frustrated, whether I'm angry, whether I'm bored. We start to be able to deal with our emotional intelligence with a bigger vocabulary. And that ability to express what we want in words gives us the ability to connect with those things. So connecting with our words is incredibly important. The Curiosity Theory is about connecting with our words, with our feelings and our needs. And what happens is we're stuck within the childhood limits of our own self-awareness until we start becoming more self-aware of the different words with regard to the feelings. And then there's this whole other part, which is needs. So what are human needs? There's a big, big subject, human needs and emotional intelligence. How does that work? Well, what human needs are, I'm going to talk to you about it tomorrow, but what I'm talking to you about today is I'm going to ask you to just, for the next 24 hours, look around, just notice when you're talking to people. Every paragraph, every other paragraph that somebody uses in their expressions, they're going to use the word need. They say, "I need this," or "she needs this," or "he needs this," or "they needed this." And needs, N-E-E-D, that word need, is so connected to almost everything we do. Marshall Rosenberg said, "Everything we do in service of a need." And that is a very, very powerful and very profound quote. And as I've looked at my own life, as I've investigated my life, and I've investigated what other people are doing, it seems to be the truth that we're all in service of our needs. Our needs to have fun, our needs for love, our needs for human connection, our needs for safety and respect, our needs for air, the simple things of air, our needs for, let's say, challenge, our needs for joy, all those things. that we're always in service of our needs. And when we're not doing well, when those needs aren't being met, then our strategy is often to lash out, is often to deal with conflict whatever way we know, whether it's holding your breath or saying something mean to somebody or ignoring somebody. Those are simply strategies that we use. And when we can connect our needs with our feelings, man, it changes the whole world. It changes the whole world because we are able to clearly define what we're going through and own it. And I'm telling you, that's the way to go. That is the way to go. That is the way to deal with yourself, and that is the way to deal with other people. And I'm not just talking in conflict. I'm talking about always. You know, and we use feelings. We use the word "I felt this way," and I even do it too. We use feelings that I feel you meant to do that, and we use those terms as though they mean something. And it's like using letters to count. It's like using bread to quench your thirst. They are absolutely the wrong tools to use. When we're saying, "I feel like you meant to do that," that's the way we speak, but that's not proper speaking, and that does not give us what we need. That simply is a judgment or an opinion about something, and it really isn't a feeling, because a human being can't feel that somebody meant to do that. A feeling is an emotion. Emotions are something that we feel, like sadness, like joy, like boredom, like frustration. When you say, "I feel you meant to do that," that's an opinion that you have. You may feel upset that you think that the person meant to do something, but really what you're feeling is not, "I felt that you meant to do that." I feel you really meant to be mean to her. I have an opinion that you were meant to be mean to her, but feeling, that's not feeling. And although it works in language, when you get stuck, my suggestion is when you're stuck, and speak however you want, because I fumble with my speaking all the time. And I'm not trying to say like you need my permission to speak. That's not my point. What I'm saying is that when you're working on something, when you're in a situation where you want to be clear and you want to get your point across, if you're going to express an emotion, use words that are emotion words: fear, anger, sorrow, joy, excitement. Those are things you can use, and then tie them into a need. And there's human needs. And I have a chart that I actually use in my book. I say, it'd be nice if there was a little chart you could just point from one word to one chart to the other, and you can go like, "This is a feeling, so let me go from a feeling, let me go over to a need," and that would be really great. And I kind of mock myself. But what I really do is I really do have a chart that I use. It's a needs chart that I use. It's kind of built around Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then I have a feelings chart. The feelings chart is built around human emotions. I've gone to Esther Hicks. I've gone to different libraries of emotions, and I've put together an emotion where on the top it's emotions that are positive, and on the bottom it's emotions that we would consider negative. So there's emotions that we struggle with. And not negative like they're bad, they're just negative, happy and sad. So happy on top, sad on the bottom. And what we do with that is that we tie in our emotions. So when we can distinguish our emotions like frustrated, bored, angry, upset, excited, whatever, agitated, whatever those emotions are that we're experiencing, when we can tie into those emotions, something happens magically in our bodies, something happens magically in our souls, in our minds. And then when we tie those in to a need, oh my God, it's magic. It's absolute magic. It is like, it's just magic. What can I say? So the goal of the curiosity theory is to notice that we are observers of the world, that we're constantly observing what's going on all around us. And then we see what happens, and then we make everything mean something. So we see somebody driving down the street and screeches wheels right before he was about to hit somebody. We say, "That guy's a jerk, what an ass." We say those kinds of things as though what we're saying is true. The observation is the facts. The observation that we want to look for is that we see a fact. The fact is that we heard somebody screech, we heard a car screech, and there was a man standing in front of the car. Those are the facts. And then anything we add on to that is simply story. So when we can start to look at that, we actually have more power in our lives because we're not making up stories about everything. We stop making up stories that take us down a tunnel usually. And sometimes they take us in a positive direction, but often they take us into a negative direction. And so we stop making up stories and we start dealing with facts, and we separate that. And then what we do is we are able to see how the stories or how those facts affect us emotionally. They make me sad, they make me happy, they make me agitated, that made me scared. I got scared when I saw the car screech and almost hit somebody. You know, I got scared, and that's owning it rather than saying, "Oh, what a guy's just a jerk." So, why that's important? I'm not saying the guy's not a jerk, okay? Because when somebody does that, driving crazy, yes, let's say he's a jerk. But the value of distinguishing how it is for you in that moment is that when you're in a moment with somebody else, when you're in a moment with somebody you love, your kids, your family, your friends, that you aren't jumping to conclusions and jumping to strategies of insults and of judgment, that you are setting yourself up, building a muscle, if you will, that allows you to communicate with people more effectively, more honestly, more intimately, and that creates human connection because it gives respect to the people that you're with, and it gives respect to yourself as well. So that's what chapter 3 is all about. Chapter 3 is all about using your words. And the funny thing is the story that I use on chapter 3 was exactly like the story I had today, which was when I walked into the house one time and my wife was dealing with Diego, and Diego was really frustrated. He threw a sippy cup on the ground, and my wife was asking him, are you hurt? What'd she ask him? Are you hurt? Do you need to go potty? And then third thing she asked him, are you hungry? And then he was like, yeah, I'm hungry. He's like 8 months old or something. Hungry! And then all of a sudden he lit up. So things as simple as hungry, which are which really like I said here, is these are the starting point of emotional intelligence, is being able to distinguish those feelings, a feeling of hunger, a feeling of emptiness, and then being able to do that as we go up. And what happens is the formal part of our emotional intelligence often ends once we learn to say I'm hungry or not, and after that we're pretty much on our own to figure it all out ourselves. So please, if you're interested in learning more about emotional intelligence, more about conflict resolution, more about creativity, please take a minute and download my book. It's on Kindle, and it's on paperback as well. And it's on Amazon, and I have the link right here. So thank you very, very much, and I appreciate your time tonight. Day 22, the GSD Challenge, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And what we're going to talk about tomorrow night is we're going to get into the neuroscience, that I talk about a little bit in the curiosity theory, and how that actually is affecting our emotions and our needs. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. It's just a couple more days to Christmas. God bless you. Thank you. I love you. Appreciate you guys taking some time and watching my video. Take care. Bye-bye.